Winter. It can be a bit bleak, can't it? But when the snow melts and the frost lifts, it can be glorious too. Creating a garden for all seasons requires a bit of planning and choosing the right plants. But ensuring colour and interest right through the winter can pose a challenge. Although deciduous plants have lost their leaves, there are plenty of evergreens providing winter foliage interest, including Euphorbia Ascot Rainbow that I have in some of my winter patio pot arrangements. Then there are striking colourful stems from dogwoods like the orangey yellow Cornus Winter Beauty or the shining red stems of Cornus sibirica. And for interesting bark, choose trees such as the Tibetan cherry, Prunus cerula, that really comes into its own during winter with shiny red bark that looks like it's been freshly polished. Then there are flowers, such as the evergreen Mahonia Winter Sun, with its bright golden spikes of flowers that will cheer you up on a cold winter day, reliable shrubs like Viburnum Eve Price, and the unusual catkin-like flowers of Garrya elliptica James Roof. Or how about Daphne Jacqueline Postil, an upright evergreen shrub with fragrant pink flowers that open in the depths of winter. I've even seen bumblebees visiting its open blooms in January. But in this video I'm focusing on some of the plants you can choose that produce fruits and berries through autumn that can last well into winter. That's provided the hungry birds don't devour them first. These hardy shrubs or small trees grow well in many gardens and require very little care to produce reliable crops of colourful berries. First off, the boxberry or Gaultheria mucronata. It's a reasonably compact evergreen shrub when young, and its female varieties carry these gorgeous berries that sparkle like jewels. Some garden centres do sometimes call it by its old name of Panetia, but it's the same thing. Another of its common names is the prickly heath, as its leaves, carried on long wiry stems, have got sharp points on them, rather like holly. I have noticed that when you buy small berrying plants in garden centres in autumn, most of these long leafy stems have been pruned off before going on sale, making the plants more compact and attractive to sell, but the new shoots will start growing out in the spring. As I say, you usually find these compact plants on sale in the autumn, covered in berries that can be red, crimson, pink, purple or pure white. And these are ideal for patio pots and hanging baskets, where they can be planted alongside other winter interest shrubs and bedding plants like pansies and violas. Gaultheria is a tough evergreen shrub that loves a moist, peaty soil. Most Gaultheria plants can be either male or female, and it's the female ones that produce the berries. So if you buy a berrying plant and you want to ensure berries in future winters, you will need to buy a male form to grow alongside and provide pollen when it flowers around May to June time to ensure that the female flowers are pollinated and they set fruit. However, plant breeders are developing more self-fertile varieties like the deep pink Bell's seedling or the white berrying pearls, which don't need a male pollinator and should reberry in future years. So do check these varieties out if you can find them. I do hope you're enjoying this video, and if you are, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel by clicking the button below. There's plenty more inspiring videos on my channel, Adam's Gardening Guides. Thank you. Skimmia is a favourite, with many varieties forming glorious red berries, like Skimmia japonica pabella, that grows into a lovely dome shape with glossy green leaves and tight clusters of red fruits at the tip of each shoot. There are many others to consider, like Skimmia nimans, Skimmia temptation, and Skimmia obsession, all with red berries. Or if you prefer white berries, take a look at Skimmia Q White, with an upright, rounded growth habit. These are all female varieties, so we'll all need a male Skimmia growing nearby at flowering time to ensure pollination. There are exceptions, and these are hermaphrodite varieties, like Skimmia reevesiana, which produces both male and female flowers on the same plant, so it can pollinate itself and produce dense heads of pink tinged red berries. I grow mine in a large tub along with variegated ivy and other plants for winter colour. Skimmia japonica, red Ruth, is another hermaphrodite producing large red berries, absolutely glorious. And there are several other berrying Skimmia too, so do check out which varieties are available near you. But while some winter Skimmia carry berries, there are some flowering varieties too, and these are the male varieties like Skimmia japonica rubella, which carries these heads of red flower buds right through winter, which open up in spring. White Globe delivers on the promise in its name with these bold circular heads of white flower buds. And small compact plants are perfect for winter pots and baskets. I've planted one in a large hanging basket, combining it with a pink berrying Gaultheria and a heuchera called Indian Summer with deep purple foliage. Lovely combination that will provide colour and interest right through winter. Kew Green is another popular male form whose winter buds will fully open around about March time, providing some welcome nectar for those early flying bees and insects too. While Magic Merlot has flowers and variegated foliage too, with a cream edge around its green leaves. Firethorn, or Pyracantha, is an evergreen shrub that's ideal for training up a wall or a fence, perhaps combined with ivy or other shrubs and climbers. Varieties with red berries are always popular, but you can find Pyracantha that produce glowing orange berries that develop into bold clusters, and some with bright yellow berries too. The Sapphire range comes highly recommended as these have natural resistance to fire blight disease that can attack and kill some Pyracantha. You'll find the striking Sapphire Rouge, the glowing Sapphire Orange, and the bright and cheerful yellow-berried Sapphire Juin. For the more adventurous gardener, why not try growing, training and pruning your Pyracantha into different shapes like a stunning espalier along your garden fence? The main branches need training out horizontally on either side onto evenly spaced wires or canes, and then you'll prune the side shoots back to that main stem to create this perfect espalier form. Or try training branches into different shapes and designs, anything you fancy, or just take it up to completely clad the wall of your house. Another berrying shrub is callicarpa, or beautyberry, a hardy shrub that loses its leaves in winter but produces these bold clusters of berries that last well into winter. Profusion is one of the commonest varieties, and you'll find this with tied clusters of purple-blue berries packed close to the main stems. These have an almost metallic sheen like small beads. They start developing their rich jewel-like colour through autumn, and when the leaves fall as the temperatures fall through autumn, their berries are displayed on bare stems. Some callicarpa can grow to a couple of metres high, but just prune in late winter or early spring to keep your plant in shape and control its size. There is a small compact form available called callicarpa profusion dwarf. That could be a better choice for container gardening or tiny gardens. And I recently discovered a white form called Snow Queen and another called Snow Star with large clusters of white bead-like berries. There aren't many hardy perennials that produce colourful seed heads, but Iris foetidissima is one, with the unfortunate common name of the stinking iris due to the smell of its crushed leaves. But don't let that put you off. Growing well in a shady position, this evergreen iris forms intricately veined pale purple flowers in summer, and its green seed heads ripen up and burst open in autumn to reveal these beautiful orange seeds inside. Birds will eat some of them, spread them around, and they'll self-seed around your garden to produce more plants, so do be warned. This rhizomatous iris can be invasive if it likes the situation it's planted in. And then there are roses. Some rose species and other shrub roses and varieties that only produce a single flush and flower can then be left to their own devices with no deadheading, and they'll produce seed heads that ripen into lovely colourful rose hips. Following its single red summer flowers, Rosa Moesii geranium produces long, elongated rose hips in autumn. The vigorous climbing rose Kiftskate flowers generously and then produces an enormous display of rose hips. What a transformation! There are many other roses too, so if rose hips are something you're after, do your research and find some more roses for your garden. The mountain ash or rowan tree can carry its fruits right into winter too. They'll be listed as Sorbus in the nurseries and are a valuable ornamental tree, many well behaved enough to suit a small to medium sized garden too. They produce colourful flowers earlier in the year, a lovely canopy of leaves through summer, good autumn colour as their leaves change colour and fall, and magnificent berries that colour up through autumn and can be carried well into winter. There are lots of lovely varieties of Sorbus trees to choose from, so if you've got space for a tree, do some research to choose one to suit the site and space you have got. Joseph Rock carries yellow fruits and forms a lovely small tree. Shearwater seedling is one of the best for red berries, and its tall, narrow shape helps it fit into small spaces. And Sorbus cashmeriana is a lovely open tree that produces pure white berries that last well into winter. A really good choice for small gardens. There are lots of others too, so if you grow favourites of any of the plants I've mentioned, please do recommend them to other viewers by adding a comment below. Thank you. Crab apples like Red Sentinel are another wonderful ornamental garden tree that produces glossy, deep red fruits that can last well into winter. This is my neighbour's tree, so I get to enjoy it every day through the year. Of course, they could pick some of the fruits to make crabapple jelly or another tasty dish, but like most people, they leave the fruits for wildlife to enjoy. And the hungry blackbirds and pigeons that fly off when I walk past are testament to this tree's value to my local bird population. Its red crab apples catch the winter sunlight, but this tree looks magnificent in springtime around April when it's transformed by its display of blossom, pink in bud, pure white when it opens, and the bees really enjoy them as much as I do. Golden Hornet is another crabapple with white blossom flushed with pink in April that develop into large crops of golden yellow fruits carried on an upright compact tree. And crabapples are self-fertile too, so you only need a single tree to enjoy fabulous crops of autumn fruits. For Christmas cheer, it has to be holly. Berries can be brilliant red, perfect for seasonal Christmas decorations, or look for varieties in gold and other shades for something a bit different but equally festive. And if you are growing holly to cut a few twigs and sprigs covered in berries to bring indoors, it could be worth covering a stem or two with fleece or netting during the autumn to keep the birds away so you can enjoy the berries for yourself. Otherwise, just leave them for your local wildlife to feed on. Holly's Latin name is Ilex, and while some varieties have deep green leaves, others are variegated, like this Ilex argentea marginata, with its broad cream edge to its spiky leaf. And holly is a versatile shrub too, so it can be grown up to form dense evergreen hedges, or clipped and pruned into striking topiary shapes and balls. Why not layer on some extra colour through summer too? I use a large holly bush in my garden as a living plant support for training my beautiful Clematis Viticella Etoile rose up. The clematis is planted in the shade at the base of the holly, and it clings as it grows with a little helping hand from me, layering on a beautiful flowering display of dainty nodding pink clematis blooms through summer and into autumn. And my last recommendation for autumn and winter berries is Cotoneaster, another hardy shrub with many evergreen varieties to choose from. Some varieties can be planted to form low hedges that will be covered with red berries through autumn into winter. On one of my fence panels, I've chosen this planting partnership of the herringbone Cotoneaster horizontalis, along with a variegated ivy and the variegated evergreen euonymus emerald and gold. This combination looks good all year round, but especially when a Cotoneaster is carrying its bumper crop of berries, which I have to say my blackbirds adore. This is homegrown bird food at its best. Many berrying plants and evergreens are perfect for winter pots and baskets, so let me finish off with this little practical tip, planting up a winter hanging basket. For a bit of winter colour interest, I'm going to plant up this hanging basket with some plants which are going to provide colour, berries and flowers right the way through till spring. I've got a berrying form of Panettia or Gaultheria, which has got some lovely fruits on it. Provided the birds don't get to these, this should keep going for some time. There's a little Skimmia called White Globe. Now, even though as we move through November, December into January, you'll have the flower buds on here, these won't be fully open till around about March into April time, but this provides some interest on this evergreen shrub right the way through the winter. And then a hardy perennial called a Heuchera, providing some foliage colour. This is a variety called Indian Summer with a lovely deep purplish veined leaf, and this will be a nice contrast for the other varieties too. Now, the basket itself, I've chosen one which has got a coir fibre lining, and the first thing I'm going to do is remove the chain, because it's much easier to plant up baskets if we remove the chain, so I'm going to do that first. Now, these coir linings should hold in the compost quite well. You can use them summer or winter, but I'm going to put just an extra layer of plastic in the bottom, just an old bit of compost bag, just to stop any compost dripping out the bottom. It's got a little drainage hole in it as well, and this will just hold the compost in place. In the summer, quite often I line baskets and pots completely with a little bit of polythene just to help the compost conserve more moisture and not lose it through the sides. And then a layer of compost in the bottom, and then we can work out the positions for the plants. Today I'm using a peat-free multi-purpose compost. This has got some John Innes compost mixed into it, completely peat-free, but it should be good for just keeping these plants going through the winter. It's worth just working out the position of the plants before you actually plant it. So I'm going to keep this Skimmia at the back, little Heuchera on one side. I want to see this berrying Panettia from the house. I'm going to put that towards one edge here, Skimmia on one side and the Heuchera on the others. So let's start with this little Panettia. Just remove it from its pot. It's a well-rooted plant. Yeah, plenty of roots on that. So I'm going to position that, work out which the best side of it is. I'm going to put it in just so that the berries tumble over the side, and fill in around the back with some compost to hold that in place. And once that's there, now I'm going to put in this nice little White Globe Skimmia. Again, well-rooted plant. You can see the roots coming through the bottom of the pot already. So beautiful little specimen. Once that has finished the display in the winter pot, I can take this and plant it out in the garden, but if you buy a small plant like this, it's perfect for a patio pot for a while. Again, work out which way round you want it, work out the height. The planting height with the top of the compost in the pot should be just below the rim of the basket, so just ease the liner up so that it's just at the edge of the basket. Put that in place, and I think something like that should be fine. And again, fill in around the root ball with some more compost. You just want to hold them in place for the moment. You can firm up with more compost a little bit later, but just want to get the positioning right. So there we are. That's the little Skimmia in place. And then lastly, this nice little Indian Summer Heuchera. As I say, it's a hardy perennial that stays in leaf throughout the winter. And this, again, I'll put towards the side, just around here. A little bit more compost underneath it to raise the height a bit. Just put it towards the edge of the basket. And just ease compost in around the root ball. And just continue filling them with compost. Firm it down lightly with your fingertips. Don't ram it in too hard. But in a minute I'm going to water and that will settle the compost down. If you find you don't get the positioning right first time, you can always take them out and move them around and adjust them. That's the joy of container gardening, they're very flexible. There we go. Let's just fill in around those with some compost, ease it down around the root balls, adjust the heights of the plants that you've put in, and there we are. The last thing I want to do is just to water that in. So water from above, settling the compost down. If the compost does sink down, you can just add a little bit more compost to fill in any gaps. But at this time of the year in the winter, it's not going to need a massive amount of water because it's been raining a lot recently, but just settle that compost down and the display is ready. The final thing I'm going to have to do is to put the chain back in place, and I can do that once I get to the bracket, just to make sure that the basket sits the right way round, and I can enjoy that display right the way through until spring. So there you have it, a few suggestions on plants to choose with fruits and berries to brighten any winter garden. I hope it's given you a few ideas, and if it has, I'd be delighted if you could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. If you have any other plants I haven't suggested or recommendations you'd like to make, please do drop me a message in the comments below, and also let me know what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. That's all for now. Happy gardening!